Hi there, Sahil here with New Bloom Solutions, digital marketing, website design, and business development company for the floral industry. That's fast. And Berkeley Florist Supply, which has been around since 1947, an institution to the South Florida floral community. And we like to both, in collaboration, bring resources, education, inspiration, and experts to our floral community in South Florida. So today we're lucky to have Jay Schwanke. Jay Schwanke, I've known him for a couple of years. I met him many years ago and just got to know him now. Such a gentleman. He has such a plethora of achievements in a sense. He's done the JTTV series, ubloom.com, Fun with Flowers, and I'll let him kind of talk to you a little bit more about what he does and what he's done and what he brings to our floral community in our industry. He is a fourth generation florist, or that's how he started with his parents. So he's been in this. He's a content creator. He works with workshops as well, and that's something that we're going to talk about as well. So super excited to bring on my new friend Jay Schwanke, and as well, I think you're really going to get so much out of this. Please ask any questions. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask and interact with us, as I am just a fan and trying to learn as well. And Jay Schwanke is such a gentleman to come on and share his time with us today. So let me ask him on. Here we go, you Bloom. Hello, Mr. J.
Hey, Saeed, how are
How
you
are
doing?
you? Very good, man. Very good. Always nice to see you. Love your background.
Hey, thank you. It's my wallpaper.
That is stunning wallpaper, man. You have me fooled.
Well, that's good. Oh, well, no, and those are real. Those are from the farmers market. So there's that. So yeah, we always got to
Wow.
have flowers. We always got to have flowers.
Of course. So to the left or from the flower market and to the right, your wallpaper?
Yeah. So this is the
Gotcha.
wallpaper
Cool.
in the bedroom, and
Okay.
then this is but it's a great background. It's Ellie Cashman wallpaper from England, and she
Wow.
does an amazing job. She's an artist. She designs all that wallpaper, and it's pretty cool. So I
It's
became a
beautiful.
fan many years ago, and so we've added it in a couple places in the house. So I like it. So yeah, it's good.
All things flowers, my friend. All things
Right, I
flowers.
can't be without him. I can't not be without him. So it's good.
That's great. But again, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. As you know, this is a
Pleasure.
resource to connect and educate our followers and our viewers. And I think that you also have that same passion. So thank you again for that.
You're doing a great job. I'm so proud of you. You're a great man. So I love it.
You're, you're,
Thanks for what you
you're a
bring to us.
gentleman. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So there's so much to cover because you've done so much for so long. So,
For
you know,
so long. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
which is a
So
good thing.
I know, right? So I do have to tell you that I am the only person that I know of that was born at a flower convention. So I was born at a flower convention in the middle of a snowstorm in Nebraska in 1960, which makes me 60 years old. And my mother and dad were running the Nebraska Florist Society, which they were the executive directors of the Nebraska Florist Society. There were 600 members, and for 50 years. And my mom and dad were running this registration desk. My mother was very pregnant, typing away on the typewriter, and turned to my dad and said, "My water just broke. I need to go somewhere and have this baby." And my dad said, "Have you looked outside?" And there was 19 inches of snow, a raging blizzard going on, and we couldn't go anywhere. And so they paged the front desk. There was a general practitioner there who delivered me in room 386 of the Hastings Hotel. So I was new product exhibit at that flower convention. Okay.
That is amazing. You're the hit of the show, I imagine, huh?
I guess so, but so it landed me dead center in a fourth generation family business. And my parents were extremely passionate about the flower industry. My mother is a professional floral commentator. My dad was the president of the Society of American Florists and is in the Floriculture Hall of Fame. My mom and I have both won the Tommy Bright Award. We're the only two second generation winners of that award. And so our weekends and our free time was spent being florists and going to flower conventions and meeting all the people who continue to be icons to me, but some of which are gone and some of which are still doing great things, like Phil Relota and Frankie Shelton. And I grew up with those people. Those people were always at conventions and they were my friends. And I was the little kid. And so that was really fun because I didn't ever stray far from floristry. And the funny story I tell is that in high school, my guidance counselor said to me, "What do you want to do for a living?" And I said, "I want to be a zookeeper because I love animals. I'm crazy about animals." And she said, to be a zookeeper, you have to be very intelligent. You have to be like a doctor. And you're not good at chemistry or math. And so, this could be a really, really tough road for you. And I said, "Okay." And I said, "So what do we do?" And she said, "I would advise you to go into floristry because you know more about floristry than anybody who's had a formal education does. And you're basically lazy and you'll do really well at that." And she was absolutely, I saw her, I was just back to see my mom probably, it would have been last November. And I ran into her at the restaurant where I was taking my mom for lunch. And I took a picture of her. I am trying my best to coerce her to come and be on my public television show because I love her. Jan Therian, and she's a wonderful lady, and she watches the PBS show every day or whenever it's on, and she's so sweet about it. But I would love to have her be there because she was a huge influence. I mean, that was really good advice to a kid who, we have no business deciding what we're going to do when we're 17. We have no idea. Guys, my advice for guys, you shouldn't get married before you're 34 because you don't know what you're going to do. So yeah. I wrecked a couple of people's lives. I knowing what I was supposed to do. So there's that. So, I think it's important for us to think about that. And so I was really fortunate that I landed in the flower industry and I love it. And it truly is second nature to me, and it's really fun. And I'm passionate about it. My dad and mom had a huge passion for it, and that got passed on to me inadvertently. I don't think it wasn't their goal to do that, but they did that, and that was really helpful. And I love our industry. I love people in our industry. I love the businesses that we have in it, the companies, the flower growers, and it's all been a string of events that led to the next thing. And I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. Exactly where I'm supposed to be. There's no doubt in my mind. And I listened to a little broadcast this morning of a girl who started off as a florist just in the front store of a wellness building, and it parlayed itself into a very successful flower shop for her, or a flower business. And she has a different model. And I think that just because you don't fit into the cubicle that is given you, okay, if you want to be a florist, you have to do this, and this. No, it can be whatever you want as long as it's all about the flowers.
So you bring a great point, and you're so right. And you bring one thing I want to disagree with your teacher. You are not lazy because you're doing so much.
And, okay, so the secret to that is that it doesn't seem like work, Saeed.
It's
what I'm doing, I love. And so it doesn't seem like work. There are days that are difficult. There are tasks that are challenging. There are things that take longer than I expected. But my dad said to me, "I have never worked a day in my life in the flower industry." And I think that that's true. He was a very hardworking individual. He was a Marine Corps veteran. He was combat wounded in World War II, and he loved floristry. He wanted to be an undertaker. And then he was going to be a minister, and then he became a florist because he married my mom. But he was very hardworking. But he taught me that it wasn't hard work to be a florist. If you love it, I don't think it's not. Sorry, it isn't hard work to do something you love. No matter what it is. No matter what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, we do a lot of things. I'm always thinking, 'cause I always want to do the next thing. And
Yes,
so,
and you do a
yeah,
lot of things, but as you said, going back to the comment you had said as well, that you don't have to follow the little box of what they say the florist is, and you haven't followed the little box, as or you did at some point, but
right.
now you're
Oh,
doing.
right. Yeah. So, I mean, it was interesting because I did not like the part of being a manager and an owner of a flower shop and doing tax reports and doing checks and reconciling accounts receivable, because I'm not that person. I wanted to design flowers, and I finally left my family business so I could design flowers. And I became a freelance florist. And then I got a job with John Henry, and I was their creative director for 20 years. And we made all those wonderful John Henry books that are amazing that people still utilize to this day. And then I started working for, at one point in time, I had 25 different clients that were marketing. I was their marketing person in the flower industry. So Smithers Oasis, I was their first design director. I
Yeah.
design master. I still work with them. I still work with Oasis today. I mean, you know, just Euphoria Flowers, Chrysal, you know, there's all these Acolyte. There's a lot of people who, you know, Reliant Ribbon, the names just go on and on. But those were great people that we could help tell the world about their product. And that was what I really wanted to do. So I think that was really important part of training for me, because literally, it was funny. I was in Alaska, and that was the last state I hadn't done a show in. And it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was standing up looking at it being sunshine outside. It was very odd that it was sunshine. And I was standing at the window looking out, and I got a text message from Phil Rolota. And Phil Rolota said, "Oh man, buddy, you're in Alaska. That's one state I've not been to." And I said, "Wait a minute, you haven't done shows in all 50 states?" And he was like, "No." And I said, "You mean I beat you at something?" And he was just like, "Yeah, you did." But I have done thousands of shows in all of the states. I mean, collectively across the United States and in every state in the union. And it allowed me to meet so many different florists and so many people, whether it was wholesaler or grower or retailer or manufacturer. All of those people are part of our industry, and they provide a unique and interesting grouping of intersection life force that allows us to do all the stuff that we do.
Yes.
And
All
we're
connected.
dependent on all of those people. I mean, you know, one of the things we learned with COVID was that our supply chain needs a little bit of help. And we depend on the local wholesaler to make sure that product gets to us under cold chain management, which that study was done decades ago about cold chain management. It's important. And flowers that don't go through cold chain management do not last as long. So we need those wholesalers. We need those growers. We need those truckers. We need those airplanes. We need all of those pieces and parts to make it all work. And, you know, there's one of my favorite experiments I ever did was these zinnias behind me, okay? The guy who cuts those zinnias cuts them in his yard, brings them to the farmer's market, and gives them to me. I cool them. Because if I don't cool them, they will only last 5 to 7 days. If I cool them and I use Chrysal Professional 3 and a CBBN tablet, I will get 26 days out of those zinnias.
Wow.
So amazing. That's why science is so important. And it has to do with floristry as well, not just COVID. Science is important. So I think that's a really important thing to think about is why do those things work? Why does the surfactant in Chrysal Professional 3 that causes it to be foamy, which might be annoying, but that surfactant loosens the surface tension of the water, and then it goes up the stems better. That's science.
And what's the CBM tablet? Sorry for my lack of, but
tablet is the Gerber pill, the little chlorine tablet that you add to anything that has a fuzzy stem. If it has a fuzzy stem, it's going to create bacteria faster. And so that CVBN tablet allows us to keep the bacteria level in check in that water, because bacteria is the #1 enemy of our flowers. So no matter, and you know what, there are a myriad of care and handling items in our industry, and all of them do a good job. There are some that are my favorite. I do love a CVBN tablet, and I love it for sunflowers and zinnias and gerberas and snapdragons and stock and things that have a fuzzy stem. But, you know, and then in conjunction, now the one thing about it is when you use it in conjunction with Chrysal Professional 3, which is my favorite flower nutrient. I love that flower nutrient because it makes my flowers last longer. I have dahlias on my table for 21 days. I don't attribute that to anything else but the fact that I'm using that nutrient. So, I mean, you know, when you hear people dipping a stem of a dahlia in boiling water, don't do that. You're not cooking asparagus. We're making flowers last longer.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, so those things. So, and you know what? Social media has caused us to have a lot of proliferation of bad information. And that bothers me so much because there's science behind what we do. There's important information that, and when we used to gather in wholesale houses like yours with 500 people and we would talk to them for a day, we would share that information. And we don't do that anymore. Thank God you're doing this.
Thank you. Because
when you're doing this, here, I can't do a love button. I would do a love button for you right now if I could. I would push a love button. But that's important that we're doing this because we're sharing information. And I have 60 years of experience that I can share with people so they don't have to make the same mistake.
100%.
And when you share that information, that's super important. And I'm very fortunate. People call me the most trusted voice in the flower industry. It's because I have nothing else to gain from this, Saeed, except that I want people to succeed. I want more people to sell more flowers to more people more often, period. More flowers to more people more often. That's what we need. And that means that everybody gets to sell. Everybody. And I never get frightened when I see somebody new starting to sell flowers because that's one more person selling flowers. We have so few people selling flowers in the US compared to Amsterdam or Europe. We have less people selling flowers. And so we need more people selling flowers every single day. And that's good. And if you're selling flowers and you're watching, thank you. I love you. And if I can ever help you, I am an open book too, Saeed, because it's funny. My phone number and my email address are on my Facebook account. Always have been. Years ago in my programs, I gave people my business card that had my name and my address and my phone number on it so they could call me and contact me. Because if you don't, I had a person, Bobby Ecker, who gave me her phone number and allowed me to call her. And she was an industry icon and she gave me so much great advice. And I share that same advice with other people. We're here to share information and we're here to make other people's lives easier. Kindness is important. It's an important
kindness and giving is very important. And I think that it's not only about the sale and the success of our industry, it's about giving the gift of flowers as well to the consumer. I think there's such a big reward in being able to be a part of creating occasions and moments and happiness in people's lives.
And the health and wellness benefits. Okay, you and I talked about this. We have had the health and wellness benefits studies available to us for over a decade through the Society of American Florists. And it took a global pandemic for our industry to pay attention to the study. All of a sudden, everybody's like, oh, the health and wellness. Well, no, really? We've known forever. We have known forever. And, people who get yellow flowers get better faster. Let's
Yeah.
give yellow flowers to people who have COVID. You know, I
There
mean,
you go.
those, yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yellow flowers make people get
Yeah.
better faster. It's a
Yeah.
study from Rutgers University. I mean, you know, those studies are so helpful to us. And we can use those. And I am so glad. Okay, so don't get me wrong. I am so happy that everybody suddenly woke up and said, oh, let's talk about health and wellness benefits of flowers. Our PBS show, the entire second season, is dedicated to the health and wellness benefits of flowers. It's about memory retention. It's about feeling better. It's about enlarging your circles of friends. It's about feeling less depressed. Goodness sakes, in this world today, do we not need to feel less depressed? Hello. We need that. So those studies are extremely valuable. The benefits of memory, cognitive memory with rosemary is incredible. We're seeing, you know, I think it's fascinating that one of the most promising cures for COVID is from a llama's eye. We need to look in the right place for the stuff. And flowers are one of the right places we can look to make people happier and make people feel better. And it's not just about, it is about celebration, but it is about creating memories that people will have for the rest of their lives. And it's about all of those things, because I think that we're going out on an edge with our PBS show in season 3. We're producing a show about celebrating life, which really is a show about funerals. But we are challenged right now with, how do we celebrate a life when 10 people can attend? How do we celebrate the life and the memories, you know, of the fact of those facts that we might lose somebody that we never get to see again? How do we do that? And there's some pretty amazing individuals in our industry that are creating celebrations of life that are off the hook. And my friend Eddie Von Bargen at Entenmann's Florist in New Jersey. Eddie is 80 some years old. He just had a birthday like day before yesterday. Eddie makes a cheeseburger out of flowers. Eddie makes the Statue of Liberty out of flowers. Eddie makes the Garcia teddy bears out of flowers. He makes the Rolling Stone lips out of flowers. He's 80. He's an amazing floral artist.
He's in New York, right?
Eddie
he's in New
Von
York?
Bargen. He's in New Jersey, actually. But I mean, but they're right there. Yeah. But Eddie Von Bargen is my hero. He is one of my, when I was a little kid, I was 6 years old, I got to see him. And he worked with the styrofoam company at that point in time. And my mom and dad took the weekend, and we went to a flower show, because that's what we did. And he was creating a Santa and sleigh out of reindeer. Okay, this Santa and sleigh looked like it was out of a Rankin Bass show. It was not silhouettes. It was formed, sculpted, like crazy claymation, you know, Rankin Bass puppetry. And I was just a kid, and I was like, oh my God, he is still at it. He's the king. He is the king of personalized sympathy. And there's those things that are happening there. And you know what? It's funny. He'll probably kill me for this, but I said, how much do one of those things cost? You know, how much do those personalized things cost? $750. You want to tell me there's not money in sympathy work?
Yeah.
Because you know what? People send flowers for personal recognition. And when somebody goes to a funeral and they see that Eddie Von Bargen masterpiece, that's all they talk about. And that's worth the price. That's worth it.
Yeah.
Because we're doing, I mean, it's like these incredible weddings that we create. You know, we're creating a memory that lasts a lifetime.
So Jay, I want to come back to that, because I consider that to be a trend, and I do want to ask you about trends.
Sure.
But I also want to, you know, one of the purposes of the show is to give resources. So tell us about, and you've been humble not to talk too much, but you do so much. So can you give us a quick synopsis of UBloom, of JTTV, just there's so much.
Okay.
Please.
So in 2006, we realized that shows were going down. We were having,
Okay.
you know, shows that would have had 1,200 people or 500 people were having 7 and 14. So we realized we needed to create a way to reach out to them on their own schedule. Because when I was a kid, there wasn't all those things. You know, there wasn't ballet or soccer or all that, or there was 3 channels on television, three in Nebraska. Okay. There was not 503. So one of them was public television. So, so we decided that we needed to create videos that would train people on their own schedule. And those videos, interestingly enough, our busiest time on uBloom still to this day, you know, however many years later now, is 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock at night in every time zone all the way around the world. That's when people want to learn about flowers. So I met with the 2 gentlemen that I work with today. They were very young kids at the time. Now they're a little bit older. But they said, sir, what you want to do is you want to create sliver casting. And I said, what is that? I said, I want to make VHS tapes. And they said, no, you don't. And they said, so what they wanted me to do was they wanted me to create sliver casting, which is web casting to a sliver of the population. And we created uBloom, where we housed our first series called JTV. JTV was directed at the consumer, or excuse me, at the professional, completely at the professional, teaching them how to make a casket spray, make a sympathy arrangement, glue a corsage, make a lighted wedding bouquet, create a cascade wedding bouquet, how to make a perimeter urn, how to do a flower chandelier. It was all directed at the professional florist, teaching them how to do the things that I was teaching them at these wholesale shows that weren't existing anymore. Mm-hmm. And that was very successful. We did that for 28 seasons. So 13 shows in a season. And then we decided, I had a happenstance meeting with Oprah Winfrey, who had seen our documentaries that we created for the California Grown Experience, talking about the American grown florists in California. We did 40 of those shows. One of them was with Oprah's wholesaler that she uses. And she watched the show and she contacted me and said, you know what? I love this documentary that you did. And then I'm watching JTV. And JTV was kind of like Pee-wee's Playhouse for flowers. It was bright colors and I wore all black and I had big glasses and it was kind of crazy. And there was a talking tiger head and a little family of flora shop people that would talk. I mean, it was like Pee-wee's Playhouse. And she said, that JTV stuff is crazy. You don't need to do that. You need to make your show look like this documentary. And so that's when we started Fun with Flowers and Jay. And Fun with Flowers and Jay was our second series that's actually going to conclude in like a week. And we've done that for 32 seasons. So, and that show was to the professional florists, but also to people who are hobbyists about flowers, who wanted to learn more about flowers. And so sometimes on Fun with Flowers and Jay, there's episodes that are more geared towards the consumer, somebody doing a craft or a hobby. And so then in the back of my mind the whole time, I knew that I wanted to start a PBS show. So I wanted to start a television show. Let me say that first. So, but uBloom is a resource that people can join for $3.99 a month, $3.99 a month, or $38.40 for a year. And then they have access to our entire archive of over 1,800 different videos about how to do stuff. And they can watch them on their time, on their mobile device, on a tablet, on the desktop. That's what they do. So we have continued that and it's been very successful. All of a sudden now we have a lot of consumers that are joining uBloom because they want to learn more about flowers. And you and I kind of talked about this because, you know, I will tell you, at first I had a lot of, I had not a lot, I had some hate mail from people who said I was giving away our trade secrets. But you know, I don't believe that, because if somebody tries to make a bridal bouquet, they're going to find out how difficult it is, and they're going to figure out that I shouldn't do that the day of my wedding. I should call a professional florist. And I believe in that model. I believe that will supersede everything, is that if we make people comfortable with flowers, they'll want more flowers in their life. And that's what. So from that aspect, I think that that's important. So we were offered 2 television shows on reality television on TLC and on A&E. And one of them was they wanted me to flip flower shops for $10,000. And they were going to give me $10,000 to flip a flower shop. Okay, now let's just be real. That ain't going to happen. Yeah. And then they said, if you're having problems, if it's all going well, we're going to burn it down or freeze it or to create reality. And we're going to look for the craziest people that we can for you to help. Well, that is not in my wheelhouse at all. I do not want, A, do not want to make our industry look bad. And B, we are extremely passionate about what we do. And sometimes that passion gets in the way of our own well-being. And so it's not hard to poke fun at us. And I don't want to poke fun at us. The second show was one where we would have 3 wedding consultants create a wedding concept, and the bride would pick the one she wanted, and then they would trip it up as it was trying to be executed. And I didn't want to do that either. So I kept working very diligently, and I actually met P. Allen Smith, who helped give me a leg up and get me introduced to American Public Television. We worked with the University of Michigan in Lansing, and they were our presenting station for the first season of the show. And they believed in us. They believed that we would be able to do that. And we created a show about flowers that just simply taught people about flowers, we have a featured flower every week. So we tell them about that flower. It could be peonies and all the different peonies that are available. We do a craft with peonies. We do a flower arranging segment with peonies. We cook, and perhaps we make a cocktail with peony infused vodka, or we do fun things that all relate around flowers. And when we refer to resources in our PBS show, we tell them to check out their professional florist, because I want that to be the resource people go to. We want people to find their professional flower sellers and get engaged with them and realize that if you want a block of foam, if you want a block of oasis, you can buy it from a florist. If you want flower food, you can buy it from a florist. If you want some flowers or foliage, you can buy them from a florist. And then you start to create a relationship that makes you go back there for weddings and funerals and celebrations of life and homecomings and proms, and you're creating that relationship with them. When they came to us, they were like, so this is like a gardening show. And I was like, no, it's not like a gardening show at all. It's a cut flower arranging show. And they said, gosh, how long do you think you can do this? And I said, oh, I don't know, probably, forever. 10 or 12. And they were like, episodes. And I was like, no, probably years. There's plenty of flowers and there's plenty of things we can do. So the first season went very well. We got 88% of the country showing our show. Season 2 is now at 94.75%. We are #1 in 85 markets across the US. And we are one of the #1 shows on American Public Television. And the fan mail and email that we get is staggering. And what people say is, just yesterday I said, the person said, and I'm just quoting from you, this lady's a ballet instructor, and she said, I thank God every day for Jay Schwanke's Life in Bloom, because in this crazy time, it gives me hope. Wow. I can't make that happen, Saeed. I can't. American Public Television told us that we are experiencing a similar fandom as Painting with Bob Ross. And I know we all love to watch Painting with Bob Ross, and we love to see how he makes us feel. It's just relaxing. I've never painted a picture with Bob Ross, but I love to watch him. And I think that's what we have too, is the Jay you are seeing right now is not the Jay that is on the show. The Jay that's on the show is much quieter and more subdued, and we just have private time. There's a little bit of Mr. Rogers in there. It's a little bit of and genuineness, and it's just and it's okay to make mistakes, and it's okay to try, and it's okay to give it a whirl, and it's okay to ask for help. Those types of things are things that are prevalent in there. So it's a different Jay than people who are in the flower industry or have seen my shows in wholesale houses are going to experience. And
Yeah.
what I would encourage you to do is just watch it and see what we're doing. We're not out there to steal any business from anyone. We're out there to get more people to enjoy more flowers more often, period. That's what we're doing. We want those people to encourage more flowers in their life at every avenue, at every aspect. And we have great people on. We have people who decorate cookies. We have a Native American pet psychic who talks to my dogs. We have and reads people through flowers. Oh yeah, I mean, there's some really cool stuff on there, and it's meant to be entertaining, and it's meant to be an escape for 30 minutes. The most common comment we get about the show is, I was loving it so much and it was over. And that's a testament to my editors and my cameramen and to Kelly, who writes the script. And those people know what to tell me to do. And we just do it. And we make great television. And I am so thankful. I mean, okay, back to my wonderful, wonderful guidance counselor. I wouldn't have a national television show on public television. And it's on public television for a reason. We don't make any money off of public television, but public television is the place you can trust. And that's where I wanted to be. I didn't want to be a reality show where people couldn't trust me. I wanted to be on public television. That's where Mr. Rogers, Julia Child, Sesame Street, Monty Python, Martha Stewart, P. Allen Smith, all of those people started there because you can trust them. And that's why we wanted to be on there. It's expensive. It is expensive. And thank God for Cal Flowers, Design Master, Sunshine Bouquet, Albertsons grocery stores, and Deborah Steyer and her amazing crew of people at Albertsons, Safeways, all of those grocery stores. Those people are the people who are sponsoring this show and making it available to every PBS station in the country for free.
Wow.
So like you watch Masterpiece Theater or Sesame Street, those stations have to pay for that programming. They don't have to pay for our show because of these generous and divine underwriters. Those people that underwrite our show make it available to all those stations for free. And that's why we're in 94% of the country. It's just because of them. They're saints, and I would walk through fire for any of those people because they believe in our industry. They believe in our industry, and they believe in flowers. That's the important part. So,
and it comes back, and congratulations for that. And I see the passion, so I really admire that. And I see talking about trends. There is a trend of education, of giving information, and I think that it's only going to enhance our industry because if you admire and understand flowers, what they go through, how many aspects of flowers, then you get to admire the artist behind the beautiful pieces of work. So I thank you for that.
Absolutely. The thing I would say about that is there's a lot of people doing it, and the one thing, if I had one piece of advice that I could tell them about those online things that they're doing, it's always about the flowers. That has been my mantra since I worked at John Henry. When we would be trying to determine if the table in the background of the arrangement should have a vase or books on it, my saying was, it's all about the flowers. It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. This is about the flowers. The flowers have to look their best. The flowers have to be great. So remember that it's all about the flowers. But here's the other thing. Please, please, please practice and make your video good. Spend a little bit of extra money. Spend a little bit of extra time. Invest a little bit more, because when you have beautiful flowers, but the sound or your presentation or the setting or the lighting is bad, we're not doing anybody any favors. And so we need to make sure that we're doing good when we do this. And I think that that's super important, is that we need to have, we need to make that the best that we possibly can. There was somebody one time who said this to me, and this is one of my favorite quotes from a frenemy, I guess you call it, right? Who said, "Hey, I'm going to be the next Jay Schwanke." And I said, why don't you be the next you?
Yeah.
Why don't you be the very best you can be and not try and be me? Because being the best you will get you so much further. And so when I see these, sometimes I see amazing flowers, I see amazing artistry, I see amazing education and information. But sometimes the quality of what they're providing could be better, and it would elevate everything higher. So just a little bit extra time, just a little bit of extra, what it takes to make sure, I mean, Saeed, I told you, I worked on where I'm sitting for an hour.
You did.
Because I want it to be good.
Yeah.
There's a light up here, there's flowers there, there's this, I mean, but that's important. I took time and I had somebody else look at it. I mean,
Thank you so much.
It's just the little, and you know what? When we make that bridal bouquet or we make that casket spray, we do take that look, see at the end and make sure that it's right. Or how many times have you put that casket spray on a casket and then stepped back and moved 2 or 3 flowers? I know I've done that 100, maybe 1,000 times because I want it to be right. And that's the thing that's really important, is it needs to be right. It needs to be, and there's a difference between high quality stuff and super expensive, because you can bring in the biggest crew in the world, but if you don't know what you're doing, uh-oh. I think that's important for what people do. So I think that's good.
And especially
I think in trends, I would say yes. We're informing people. I think that we're not as scared anymore. When I was a kid, people were scared to tell their secrets. But I think now, I told you the other day, I learned to bake bread. I am so excited that I learned to bake bread. And my friend Sue Muldoon helped me. She helped me learn how to make bread. And I can make bread. Do I want to make bread every week? No. I still want to buy this fabulous honey oat bread that I get, that's organic, that's made by a local bakery, that's fabulous. I can't come close to that, but I can make it if I have to. But if I want the great bread, I'm going to go there. And I think that we're learning that. We're realizing that if people want beautiful flowers, they're going to come to a professional. They're going to come to somebody who knows what they're doing. And so passing along that education is simply allowing the general public to become educated about what they do. One of the things that we know, so now the dichotomy has changed. I would have thousands of wholesale shows where I would have 50 to 100 florists at. Now I have shows where I have 1,000 people at who come to see the guy from the TV show, and they're all consumers. The number one thing that they say is that they're afraid of, and this was before COVID too, just so you know, but they would come to me and say, I'm afraid that if I make a flower arrangement, it'll be bad. Okay, we need to fix that for them. Because, and the one thing I tell them, I get every day I have people who send me pictures of their flower arrangements and say, I want you to be brutally honest. What do you think of my flower arrangement that they made from the garden? The very first question I ask them is, are you pleased with it? You have to answer this question first. Are you pleased with what you created? And 9 times out of 10, they say no. And so then I know how to help them, because the first person they need to please is themselves. And moreover, it's not that they're displeased with the arrangement. They just felt inadequate because they didn't have the tools or this, there's not, I have a Better Homes and Gardens recipe book from 1961. That's my go-to. That's the one I go to all the time if I can't find something, because it's old school teaching about cooking. We don't have books like that about flower arranging. Yeah. We have to pass, it's becoming that, that prehistoric thing where the storyteller would tell the stories at night around the campfires, and then people would learn the story and the story would get passed on for generations. We are in a very, very deep valley right now of not having a lot of good quality education in the flower industry. There was a time when there were hundreds of flower schools across the United States. We don't have that anymore. I mean, I was lucky. I went to Phil Relota's flower school. I went to Frankie Shelton's flower school. I went to Bill Harper's flower school. I went to Michael Polychrone's flower school. I went to a lot of flower schools, and I learned something different from each and every one of them. Phil Relota literally beat the elements and principles of design into my brain. And every time I make an arrangement, I think back about those elements and principles of design and how I am either utilizing them or breaking them because I know what they are. You can't break a rule. There is no thrill to going fast on the Autobahn in Germany because there is no speed limit. And when you are going the fastest that your car can, people pass you with faster cars. So there is no thrill that you get when you're doing 65 and a 55, okay? You're getting there a little faster, you're getting all that stuff going on, but there's not that thrill if we don't know what the rule is. So knowing what the rules are super important so we can break them and have reasoning behind why we broke them. If it's just like, when the people say, oh, I let the flowers talk to me. Oh, okay, let's all be real. They don't. The flowers do no talking. They've never spoken, but we can, but I do agree that sometimes, the flowers inspire us to do something. Okay. But we also have to have some training and learning behind us that helps us do that. So I think that that's important. So.
And I really appreciate the fact that you are on the Autobahn, but you continue to go 100 miles an hour and you continue to enjoy it, Jay. So my hat goes off to you.
I drive like an old woman, just so you know. All of my friends say, you drive like an old woman. So not in the car, okay, but in life, maybe I drive like I'm on the Autobahn, but not, I drive very slowly. I am the person that you pull up alongside and expect to see a big old dog driving the car that has no idea what they're doing. That's me. So
I'm going to take here Aroma Care, which is a personal friend of mine, Janet. She's a florist, but her first passion is actually aromatherapy. So when you talk about so it's real cool. So when you talked about rosemary and thyme, she was all up on all over that, and she is saying here a couple of little quotes. Learn the basics, and you have stronger foundation, and then you could be a creator.
Absolutely.
And believe in your art, she's also saying. And I think that goes back to what you were saying is, are you happy with the design?
Absolutely. Well, and I think, there's two differences too. There's an amazing study that just came out from PMA, and it was sent to us yesterday. And the Produce Marketing Council did a survey and a study on what the consumer who's buying flowers thinks about what they're purchasing. And people at the grocery store level are not finding value in artistry of floristry. They're looking for quality and color. And it's funny. I was talking to a group the other day who was telling me that they believe that muted colors are going to be more popular going forward. And I completely disagree. Whenever our country is in turmoil, right after 9/11, we were in all muted colors and grays and concretes and glass, and we switched immediately to bright colored flowers. And those bright colored flowers are healing. And I think we're going to see that coming is because of this, we're going to see brighter colors. I don't think we're going to see as much. I mean, I think we're and I'm talking 9 to 18 months from now, the blush muted stuff, I think is going to be gone. I think we're going to see brighter, more vibrant colors because people are scared. And when you're scared, you don't go to dull muted colors. You go to bright colors. Pastels do not succeed in terrifying times, and we are in terrifying times. So
Wow.
I
And
think
that goes,
that's art. So, but I think that art, I love to see artistry in floristry, and I think it entertains us as an industry, but I think the consumer is scared of it. And sometimes when I make something artistic, my crew will say to me, ugh, that's kind of scary to me. And we just like it better. They said to me one time, we just like it better when you make pretty flowers. Aha, aha. So I think that that's something to remember where we want to be in that portion of our lives. Do we want to be that artist? You know, I mean, I live in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We don't need floral art here. If I lived in San Francisco, I might have clientele for that. If I lived in New York, I might have clientele, or Miami, I would have clientele. I am in a in a Dutch community that is very frugal. There's not a lot of artistry going on, but there's a lot of pretty flowers going on. And so I think, you know, knowing that, and because I live in a Dutch in an area that was founded by Dutch people. They are frugal people, so they look for value. And so that's also important. And it's about knowing your customer and what your customer wants. Because I think, you know, there's years ago, Hitomi did a program, Hitomi Gilliam did a program that was, this is what I do in my shop in Burnaby, and this is what I would like to do. And she did it in Newark, New Jersey, but it was like a blue baby novelty and then a blue arrangement like Hitomi would do. And it was very inspiring because it was like, here's what I want to do, but here's what I have to do. And I think that there's those parts of our days. We need to remember that, is this something that I want to do, or is this something that I have to do? Because I might have to do this to get to do what I want to do. I have a lot of friends in the wedding business who are just so excited to do that next new thing that they forget to make money. And that's challenging because we need to make money. And I have a friend, I told you about this. I have a friend who has a wedding and event business, and she had a wedding and event business, and it was called Affordable Elegance. And she came to me and she said, what can I do? I'm only getting the cheap weddings. I'm not getting the big weddings. And I said, change your name. And she was like, well, I don't know what I would change. And her name is Tracy Park. And I said, change it to Park Place Design. I said, have you played Monopoly? Park Place is the second most expensive, you know, property on Monopoly. She changed her name to Park Place Design, and her business took off. And she was getting all of these wonderful big weddings, and she was killing it. Well, then COVID came. And then she said, okay, now what do I do? And she said, I'm terrified because I don't have any weddings on the books. And I said, Tracy, before you changed your name, what did you do? And she said, oh gosh, I would do all those little tiny small weddings. And I said, and how many would you do in a week? She goes, sometimes I do 20 or 25. And I said, with COVID, we're going to be doing tiny weddings. Go back to your roots. Go back to what you did before. And nobody knows how to do a $200 or $300 or $400 wedding better than you. And market micro weddings for these people who are going to have 2 people or 4 people or 10 people at them. And she is killing it right now with her micro weddings. She went back to her roots. And I mean, you know, one of the things that I say is I hate brides. I don't ever want to do another wedding again as long as I live, ever. But Tracy loves them. And I send people who come and want me to do weddings to her because she wants to help them pick out their nail polish and their shoes and make all the little details. Because she loves that. She's passionate about it. I don't care. I do not care about that at all. You know, and so it's cool that there's people with different passions for different things. And let the person who's really good at that do that. I mean, I think basically what I said to her was, be the very best park place design you can be. And she did it. So,
Yeah.
so be the very best you. Don't try to be somebody else. You know, be the very best you can be.
Yeah. And what's amazing about her as well is that she repivoted and went back to her roots, as you said, to do something she knew how to do and did it well. So not having fear of stepping up, making a step backwards so you could take a few steps forwards, especially during COVID. So I love that
And it
story.
was for her. I mean, the one thing, she sat on the phone and she cried and she said, I'm afraid I'll never get to do flowers again.
Yeah.
That's horrible. That's horrible for somebody to have to deal with that thought. I can't imagine, Saeed, if I could never do flowers again. And I was like, Tracy, we have to figure this out. We have to figure out how you can continue to do flowers. And that fear of not being able to do what she loved triggered her into creating something that would work for the time being.
Survival.
It's
yeah.
Fear is a wonderful trigger as long as we don't let it get its claws into us. It's okay to be fearful. It's okay to be afraid, but it can't control us. If we get controlled by it, then it's a problem. So yeah.
Jay, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to read one last thing from Aroma Care, and I think it has to do so well with what the next question is. Wait, let me see here. Give me a second. You are a floral genius. Thank you for the amazing talk and your generosity. And that's what I wanted to say was thank you so much for your generosity. Even though information is free, there's some people that don't like to share. So thank you so much for sharing and even taking that 1 hour, which is a lesson learned for me is, you took that 1 hour to give to us to just design your set. So again, even though we might think that we've made it or achieved our goals, it's always good to stay honest and true to ourselves, to always give the best foot forward. So thank
Knew I
you.
couldn't come to you from the refrigerator. That seems to be my favorite place right now. So just so you know.
The freezer or the refrigerator? I love ice cream, so
Sure, both. I mean, I really truly enjoy cooking. It's very relaxing for me, almost as relaxing as flower arranging. So I do love to cook. Kelly and I both love to cook, and so we have eaten very well during the crisis, and so and you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm a 60-year-old man with a little bit of a pot belly. That's okay. I can live with that. I'm not out going to clubs anymore or anything like that. So I'm okay with that. So
no one's judging. No one's judging.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all good.
So Jay, my last question.
Thank you for asking me, and thank you for the fact that you're doing this. The fact that you are bringing together a community and sharing this information online makes you a trailblazer for us, and you're great job. I mean, when you and I first talked, I went back and caught up, and it took me a while, but I caught up, and it's extremely valuable. And I think that that's the interesting thing is that you yourself are also genuine. And that's the thing that I love about this is I brought my coffee cup because it was time to have coffee with Saeed. And the fact that you are allowing people to have coffee with you makes, if you can sit down and have a cup of coffee and talk to somebody for an hour or listen to somebody for an hour, that's a huge deal. That's a huge deal. And you can be very proud of that. You're a genuine guy, and I love it. So I'm
so much. That means the world, and aromatherapy says I'm honored to call him a friend, but that means the world to me because was my goal. But thank you coming from you, gosh, I'm so flattered. Thank you so much, and it's inspiring.
Always room for more people to inspire us. Always room. So
thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks. So my last question is having to do with inspiration is and you've said so much and you've been so inspiring today. So thank you again. And it's in your passion and that's why we connect so well. What would you say to our floral community to inspire And we only have 26 seconds, so we've gone to an hour, I
Oh, okay.
guess.
All right. All right. Okay. So what would we do? What would I do if to inspire them? Reinvent yourself. Figure out a way to do it differently. Turn it clockwise, set it on its head, move it around, look at it from the backside. Try it differently. Try
There we
it
go.
differently, and you'll make it work.
Awesome. So Instagram.